zip up your members-only jacket, crack open a tab, and pause your Walkman as we bring you to the 1980s.
Welcome to the 80s Show podcast, where we talk about all things 1980s, from movies to TV shows, music and stars, fads and fashions. We'll talk about anything and everything to do with the 1980s.
The 1980s, the best decade in decades.
All right, welcome again to the podcast. We are your hosts. My name is Bill Lassiter alongside Damian Raffelli. How are we feeling today, Damian?
We're feeling great today.
Awesome. Don't forget, if you are listening to the show, you can follow us on Twitter at 80 Show Podcast, or you can also follow us on Facebook or the Instagram. I think last time you said the Instagrams.
Oh, is that wrong?
Yeah, I don't know. It's more of a millennial tool.
Nobody our age is on Instagram.
Yeah, I guess so. So you can definitely find us on Facebook, or you can email us at 80showpodcast@gmail.com. All right, Damien, what we got on the program today?
Well, today we have an 80s movie battle, Rocky III versus Rocky IV.
And we've got some exciting news today, guys. We have a new sponsor here for the podcast. Our new sponsor is TWA, that's Trans World Airlines. Find out how good they really are.
TWA, you're going to like us.
Now TWA's got great deals all over Europe, with fares as low as $199.50 each way, and hotels as low as $10 a night, plus a car for a week, free. Welcome.
Welcome to the 80s movie battle, and today we are going to battle out which was a better 1980s movie, Rocky III or Rocky IV, or Rocky IV as I call it now. And you know, we did a character battle a couple episodes ago, and today we're doing a movie battle. So, Damien, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Rocky franchise and Rockies 3 and 4?
Well, one of the most interesting things that I just realized when I was, watching Rocky III is that Rocky II was in the 70s. There were only two.
Okay, must have been late 70s.
Yeah, it was in 1979.
Okay.
So right there on the cusp. Rocky 1 came out in 76, then it went 79, 82, 85, and then we won't talk about Rocky 5 in 1990. That was just, we're going to drop that.
Yeah, and there was Rocky Balboa after Rocky 5.
Yeah, I think that was 2006, I believe.
Yeah.
And of course, we've got Creed and now Creed 2, which is in theaters now.
Yep.
But yeah, it was, I just really surprised that only two of them were in the 80s. I didn't remember that. So we focused on the only two that were in the 80s, fortunately for us. And
right.
Otherwise, we would have to change the name of the show.
I would argue the two best in the franchise.
Absolutely. I'll be with you on that.
Even though Rocky, the first one, won the Academy Award and all that kind of stuff. But we'll say Rocky 3 and 4 are better than 1, 2, 5, Rocky Balboa, Creed 2.
Yeah. So Rocky 1, just like Rocky 3 and Rocky 4, were written by and starring the Oscar-nominated Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I think he did. He probably did all the Rocky. I don't know. He did some of the Rambo movies too. I mean,
yeah, he wrote. He was involved in writing almost all of them. He directed most of them, but I don't think he directed number 1. But he directed and wrote 3 and 4 for sure.
That's crazy. Wow. So, how did they do in the box office, Rocky 3 and 4?
Well, they were both had similar performances at the box office. Rocky III did about $125 million.
Okay,
was the number 4 movie in 1982. Rocky IV did about $128 million and was number 3 in 1985.
Wow, number 3. All right.
And interestingly, 1985 was a big year for Stallone. He also starred in the number 2 movie, Rambo 2.
Oh, okay. Rambo, what is it? Rambo First Blood Part 2 or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the full title.
Yeah. I mean, he's a great 80s movie star for sure, Sylvester Stallone.
And don't forget, Oscar-nominated.
I think we got to do some research in a second, but I'm pretty sure he did win an Oscar for Rocky, the first one.
Oh, did he win? Okay, he might.
Or maybe as the writer or director. We'll get a research team on that.
Okay, I think
#
he also
Wikipedia.
I think he won for Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Oh, I think you're right. I think, you know what? That's the one he won the Academy Award for.
And he might have won an Oscar for Oscar.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's a terrible movie. All right. So the way that the 80s show Rocky movie battle today is going to go is we have both chosen our favorite of those two movies. We're going to defend our position why each of our movies are the best, and then we will have an opportunity to trash the other movie. which will be hard for me. I'm going to admit. So, if you want to give your 2 cents into this battle, you can hit us up on Twitter at 80 Show Podcast or on Facebook 80 Show Podcast, and you can use the hashtag 80s Show Rocky Battle. We would love to hear from you, whether 3 or 4. One and from all of you listeners, we have heard from you from episode 3, and you like Ferris Bueller better than Marty McFly. I'm just putting that out there, Damian. Just giving it to the viewers or the listeners to respond to the show here.
There were some hanging chads on that. I demand a recount.
All right. So Damian, walk us through Rocky 3 and why you think this is the superior Rocky movie of the 80s.
Let's just start for everyone who doesn't remember, the different Rockies, or may have, God forbid, not seen them. And,
Wow.
My wife, Kara, had never seen Rocky 3 or 4. Well, she said her parents probably rented it and she got bored and read instead. So she's going to give a dissenting opinion later on the movies.
Dissenting against both the movies?
Yes, against both movies.
Wow, I don't even know. Is she American? I don't even know. Like, what's going on here? All right, go ahead and talk about Rocky 3, though.
Okay, this is the synopsis of Rocky 3. So Rocky loses his hunger, celebrity and money and fame. They've brought complacency, laziness to him, and he's just lost that edge that a fighter has. So Mick, sees this happening, and Mick, I love Mick, and he has him fighting bums, bums that he knows Rocky can beat just to keep the title, and making sure Rocky's keeping the payday coming in and keeps his keeps his spirits up. But then Clubber Lang calls him Yella.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Just like Marty McFly.
Oh, I see where you're going. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Rocky doesn't like to be called Yellow. So he comes out of, he was about to retire. He comes out of his retirement. It had only been 30 seconds since he announced his retirement.
Yeah, well, that's how the movie goes, yeah. Uh-huh.
Creed and Rocky start their bromance. And Creed helps him get his mojo back, goes back to his roots by losing all the trappings, comforts of fame and money, and they go to L.A. and they just get into a gritty training montage. Yeah. And then Rocky gets the eye of the tiger.
Yeah, yep.
That's why Rocky 3 is the best for many reasons, and here's just a few of them.
I will say, Eye of the Tiger is a great classic 80s song, and that came from Rocky 3. So I will give you that point.
Well, you better.
All right.
Starts off like most Rocky movies, or at least in parts of Rocky movies, with a sweet boxing montage. Every 80s movies, we've talked about it before, it's got to have the montage.
Got to have a montage.
And this is him, it shows what he's been up to since Rocky 2. He's just, fighting these bums before he gets to Clubber Lang. Another interesting thing, again, thanks to my wife who grew up in California, she noticed that all the sportscasters that were shown throughout, they were all actual LA sportscasters.
Yeah, that's true. Stu Nahan used to be on Channel 5, KTLA local station here for years, and he calls the fights in Rocky 3.
Two of my favorite things are Mr. T and Hulk Hogan.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this was Mr. T's film debut. This is where he hits the scene. This is also where his catchphrase, "I pity the fool," comes from.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. He used that through A-Team and special appearances in the 80s and cartoons. Okay. All right. I'm gonna let you have that moment for a second.
And which, in fact, probably came from his appearance on an NBC reality show called Games People Play, and there was a segment, America's Toughest Bouncer, and this was in 1980. And this is where...
Really?
Yeah, and this is where Sylvester Stallone discovered him. He saw him on this, and he said, I've got to put him in my next movie, and he cast him as Clubber Lang.
That's crazy. So, I would watch that show today, America's Toughest... it sounds like something that would be on Bravo or Spike TV or something like that today. That's great.
I would watch it too. I hope they revise it. I tried to find it online. I couldn't. I'm going to do a little more research. If I can find a link for YouTube or something, I will put it. I'll put it in the show notes. I did find a teaser, a promo for it, and you could see a little clip of Mr. T in a powder blue tuxedo punching a punching bag, speed bag.
Oh, okay. So let's just bring it back to the 80s for 1 second. And the greatest 1980s bouncer, Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse.
So, Mr. T, he's the real deal. Mr. T grew up in the projects in Chicago. He was an actual bouncer, thus him being on the show America's Toughest Bouncers. Mm-hmm. He was a bodyguard. He even carried a gun. He was eventually, he was a bodyguard for some just local people. Then eventually became a bodyguard for celebrities like Michael Jackson, Muhammad Ali, people like that. He even was offered to carry out some contract hits, which fortunately he turned down.
Wow.
He was in the military, so he was the real deal. He's no joke. And my other favorite part of the movie is Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
as Thunderlips.
Yep, Thunderlips, Hulk Hogan. Yep.
And again, thanks to my wife Kara, who's apparently a bigger wrestling fan than even I am, which something I learned about her is she realized that at the making of Rocky II, Hulk Hogan was still a villain.
If you know anything about professional wrestling, it's called being the heel. If you're the bad guy, you are the heel, and if you're the good guy, you're the baby face. It's the face and the heel. So there you go.
There you have it. So at this time, Hulk Hogan was primarily wrestling in Japan. He was still doing a little bit in WWF as a villain. And after the movie, he went into the AWA as a villain before he went back into the WWF after the younger McMahon took it over. And then he became the babyface or good guy, the face of wrestling after that. And of course, in 1985, in the OG WrestleMania 1, who did Hulk Hogan partner up for his tag team partner?
Yeah, I actually remember this because he was fighting against Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, and it was, in fact, Mr. T.
Mr. T, you got it. So you got two...
Clubberlang.
Yeah, you got two 80s icons in this movie. I got to say, Mr. T was actually a pretty good actor in this. Hulk Hogan, not so much.
Well, he hadn't got that far in pro wrestling at that point, so... You can cut a good promo, but, that's about it.
Pretty much his only line in this was calling Rocky Meatball.
It's all fake, Meatball! Blast off, Meatball! Come on, Meatball! Not for the Meatball, I'm not done him yet! Lights up, Meatball!
And as Italian-American, I take offense to that.
All right.
Actually, I don't, but I think it's pretty funny. But, so, you've got that classic, and also... Hulk Hogan's even taller than Drago. He's 6'7". You contrast that with Stallone. He's almost a foot taller than Stallone, and it was pretty fun to see that happen. Go the back and
even
forth.
Though it wasn't a real fight. But go ahead.
It was an exhibition match. Another exciting thing about Rocky III was the unveiling of the famous statue that's still in Philadelphia. They've moved it, but it was in downtown Philly.
There's a great scene. I just watched Creed 2, and there's a great scene with the Rocky statue in it. So I'm not going to spoil that because it actually is a movie that's out right now.
It's the last movie with Mick. R.I.P.
Okay, yeah, R.I.P. Mick.
Mick, he's a throwback to the old school actors. When from the era when parents could actually name their kids Burgess.
That's right. He was also in the Batman television series.
Yeah, he sure was. He played the Penguin.
Penguin, yep.
He also did the voice of Puff the Magic Dragon in a couple of TV shows.
Oh, did he? Okay, all right.
Yeah, I love Mick, and he's just gritty. I love the way he talks too.
Yeah.
When he's talking about Clubberlang, he'll kill you dead, kid.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a circus in here.
Because you can't win, Rock. This guy will kill you to death inside of 3 rounds.
And he was the kind of tough guy that is like, he's suffering a heart attack. I don't need any stinking paramedics. I'm going to suffer here like a man and just die here like a man in a locker room.
With his hearing aids still in his bad ears.
Yeah, those are the transistor hearing aids.
That's right.
2 last points here. The bromance between Carl Weathers, who's Apollo Creed, and Sylvester Stallone Rocky. There's a serious bromance. This is where it happened. And this is the lead up. There wouldn't have, Rocky IV wouldn't have been so impactful without Rocky III setting up the bromance. And Bill, I'm sure we'll get into that in a little bit.
Okay, all right.
This is where Creed brings Rocky back to his hometown of L.A., goes to his gym in downtown L.A. It looks like it's in Skid Row.
Also, let me just bring it to today. Creed 2, they do some training in Apollo's old gym, and it looks nothing like it did in Rocky 3. It's
sweet.
They've stepped up a little bit, but it's still the Delphi Fighting Academy.
Okay, all right, awesome. So I did see the original Creed. I have to go see Creed 2. I haven't seen that yet.
Really good.
One of my favorite scenes is the training montage in L.A. on the beach, and this is Santa Monica Beach.
And I don't know why you like this, Damian.
Well, for a couple reasons. One, it's where Three's Company was also filmed, so we're going to talk about Three's Company later.
That's true.
But my favorite part is when they're wearing crop top midriff shirts and the shorty shorts with tube socks. But wait for it, when they're running on the beach against each other, full-on close-ups of their crotches. First is a zoom-in of Apollo Creed's
right.
crotch, and then
gosh.
of Rocky's crotch. Can you remember watching that on the big screen?
I remember watching that, on the TV and I feeling a little awkward about that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And their
I know
legs
exactly what you're talking
shows
about.
their rippling thighs
yes,
and then their
yeah.
crotches.
Those are some short shorts, man.
Yeah, I had to, for some reason, Kara wanted me to rewind that and watch it a few times. Not sure why. Oh, Bill, did I ever tell you about the time I saw Carl Weathers?
Only about 100 times. Go ahead and tell us again, Damian.
All right, this will be a quick story. This is about probably 4 or 5 years ago. It was at the same restaurant I saw Keanu Reeves at a different time, The Farm in L.A., in West L.A., and Carl Weathers was there. Again, I was at a business lunch, so I didn't want to interrupt him. But, I was impressed. He's still in great shape. He still looks really good. I mean, I could see why Rocky fell for him.
Yeah, exactly.
Bill had already spoiled my number one reason for liking Rocky 3 over Rocky 4 is Eye of the Tiger by Survivor.
Yeah.
The theme song also was nominated for an Oscar for Best Original Song, Eye of the Tiger. And
So it was Oscar nominated?
Oscar nominated the song.
Okay.
And this was released, Eye of the Tiger was released on a single on a 45, if you remember the 45s, at the same time as the movie was released. So they went out together.
Okay.
So I got to say, Rocky 3 has the better Survivor song.
Good synopsis of Rocky 3. However, I'm going to talk a little bit about Rocky 4, which is by far the superior movie. By far. Actually, here's the deal. I love both movies. I could watch either one of them, probably quote half of the movies, both the movies, and but I'm going to say why Rocky 4 is the better movie. You mentioned in your summary that a little bit about box office, but you didn't go into full details, Damian. It's kind of an interesting thing for you. Yeah, you're smiling over there. So Rocky 4 earned about $300 million at the box office. That's domestic and foreign. It also was the number one sports movie by box office for 24 years. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not know that.
So do you know what actually ended up beating it out?
Rudy.
No, 24 years. No, it was actually The Blind Side, of all things.
Oh, really?
So think about all the movies that Rocky IV beat out the box office. We're talking about Hoosiers, Field of Dreams, Rudy, Bull Durham, Remember the Titans, Major League, and, of course, the greatest sports movie ever made, Happy Gilmore. Anyway, it beat all those films out in the box office. 24 years it held the title. That's pretty impressive. But let me just give you a quick synopsis of the movie. The beginning of the movie, Apollo Creed watches a press conference with Ivan Drago on it, and they said that he's a superior fighter, and he gets upset. He asks, actually, they challenge Rocky to fight him in the press conference, and Brigitte Nielsen with her sweet hair. Remember that?
Oh, loved her hair.
She looked a lot better in Rocky 4 than she does in anything else since then.
So, did her and Drago have the same haircut in Rocky 4?
Pretty similar. So they challenged him to fight, and Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed says, "I'm going to take that fight," and sets up this big thing at the MGM Grand. Now, it's funny, watching the movie. The MGM Grand looks a lot different now than it did back in 1985 when the movie came out.
I thought Las Vegas looked exactly the same now as it did in 1985.
Yeah, a little bit different. And so we get to one of, if not the greatest music videos, which was in the middle of a movie, which was James Brown's Living in America. Actually, I mispronounced. It's Livin' with an apostrophe in America by James Brown.
I love James Brown. That was one of the better parts of the movie.
That was
Absolutely.
the best, not the best part, but a great part of the movie. And basically shoving it in the face of the evil communist Russians that we are living in America. Suck it, Drago, basically is what they said. Drago goes on in this exhibition fight. He kills Apollo Creed in the ring. Rocky is holding the towel, does not throw the towel in to stop the fight, and basically kills his friend. I mean, that's what happened. And so, of course, Rocky feels the pull to fight Drago at some point in the future. And, of course, we go to communist Russia, and he trains outside of Moscow. The fight is on December 25th. But just before the fight, of course, we have one of the greatest training montages of all time. Hearts on Fire, Strong Desire. I mean, do you remember when he climbed to the top of that mountain and shouted, Drago! Drago! Oh, I still weep when I think about that scene. You know, and then of course they show the difference between Rocky's training and Drago's training. Rocky's all natural. He's out there lifting up, logs and stuff like that. Drago's running up a hill on a treadmill, being injected with steroids, which I don't know if you remember. I remember watching that particular scene when they injected Drago's arms. I remember watching that scene in the theater and cringing and just thinking how evil those Russians are for using steroids. Of course, we go to the fight in Moscow on Christmas, December 25th in Moscow. So you have a hostile crowd, you have a hostile judges around the thing, and Rocky ends up knocking out Ivan Drago in the 15th round, which there was a heavyweight fight last night, I guess. It was 12 rounds. I didn't know they only go 12 rounds now. But anyway, 15 rounds.
Well, I think you decide that before the boxers determine that, or the promoters determine how many rounds it's going to go.
Well,
so they decide on that.
You have to go 15 because 12 is even. So they had a draw last night in some heavyweight fight. So anyway, wouldn't be a draw, and this one would not be a draw for sure because Rocky Balboa knocks out Ivan Drago, the Russian enemy. And near the end of the movie, of course, all of the crowd has now turned on Ivan Drago and are shouting, Rocky, 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 Rocky. When you're looking at a hero movie like a Rocky movie, you got to look at the bad guy, right? You got to look at, because if the hero is overcoming the bad guy's got to be bad. Ivan Drago is the greatest villain in any boxing movie of all time. The greatest villain. Why? He killed Apollo Creed. Number one. Number two, he was all about communist Russia. Sorry, the Soviet Union at that time. And he was a manufactured athlete driven by the Russian government. The Russian government paid for his training, paid for all that. He could punch 1,850 pounds per square inch. I mean, this was the biggest, baddest villain Rocky, or I may argue, any movie character of all time has ever faced Ivan Drago, the biggest enemy of all time.
Why weren't the Russians using kilos versus pounds?
Damian, come on. Look. They had... You knew it was legit because there's a bunch of guys in the background with white coats looking at the computer screens. Anybody that wears a white coat, they're an expert, right?
And that was high tech for 85 also. We didn't have now all the training facilities, everybody has all the high tech stuff. Everybody's taking PEDs. But back in 1985, it wasn't as big of a deal it is now. And they didn't have all that high tech stuff.
That's true.
To train.
That's right. Now, Damian, so I gave you, let me give you the third. So the first reason why Rocky IV is better, it made more money and it became the number one sports movie of all time until The Blind Side. Number two was that there's a better bad guy. You have to have an evil villain to have a great hero, right? And so there's that. So number three is, I will argue this with anybody, any sociology professor, any history professor, Rocky IV ended the Cold War. Boom. Oh, you're looking at me like I'm crazy.
Well, Gorbachev did stand up and clap after Rocky won. In Rocky IV, it was the actor that was supposed to be Gorbachev.
Yeah. So definitely. So let's just break down some history here. So January. So that year, it was 1985. It was released around Thanksgiving time, and Rocky gives probably the greatest speech ever given on any movie ever made. And he says, and I'm just gonna quote a little bit here. He says, I came here tonight. I didn't know what to expect. I seen a lot of you hate me, and I don't know what to feel about you. And he goes on and he says, we're in here, two guys killing each other. But what I'm trying to say is people can change. If I can change and you can change, everyone can change. And then right after that, the world changed, Damian. The world changed. The Cold War was going to be over just a few years later. That year, on January 25th, Gorbachev, after watching Rocky IV, I'm sure, I don't know if this is historically accurate, but I'm pretty sure he watched Rocky IV and he proposed a 15-year ban on the elimination of nukes. A year later, 1987, Reagan and Gorbachev agreed to eliminate all intermediate range missiles. Gorbachev leaves Afghanistan in February of 88. And then by the December of 1989, both the United States and Soviet Union agree that the Cold War is over. Boom. Rocky IV ended the Cold War.
That's still why we do diplomacy via movie now.
Exactly. So, Damian, I will say Rocky IV is a greater movie because it made more money. It had the greatest villain of all time. Okay. Indie boxing movie. And it ended the Cold War, which was throughout, many, many years, but all the way through the 80s until the end of the 80s.
Again, I will agree, Rocky IV is a great movie, not the greatest. Just like Creed said to Rocky, you can fight great, but you're not a great fighter. Rocky III, in the same way, is better than Rocky IV. And here's why. This is why. First of all, Rocky IV has a stupid robot. I mean, come on. That was so cheesy.
But wait.
Paulie's robot.
That was Paulie's Christmas present or birthday present that year. That was a beautiful present from Rocky to Paulie, and he changed the voice to make it a female voice. And she loves him.
So it's basically a sex robot. Nicely done, 80s. So another thing is, does Rocky even know his son's name? Here's the thing. I've never heard him say it. At the end of Rocky IV, in fact, when he says, hey, kid, if you're out there watching, you should be asleep. Kid up. Merry Christmas, kid. You think, is his kid named Kid? Or is that just he doesn't know? He's had too many hits to the brain. It doesn't know.
The crazy thing is I know the answer to this question because I just saw Creed 2 and he mentions his kid. His kid's name is Robert.
Okay, so it's not
there
a kid.
Okay. It's not Kid. Hey, kid.
Yeah. I mean, I do love when sports were sports, when the idea of being a tough guy was getting traumatic brain injury. I do miss that. I mean, everybody's so soft these days. Oh, you can't get brain injury. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. Come on, give me back the 80s. Okay, so speaking of Rocky III being a better movie or Rocky IV, back to my point.
I don't think we were saying that, but go ahead.
Okay. First of all, Rocky III is basically the same movie as Rocky IV. Rocky IV just ripped off the plot. Somebody gets killed and they've got to get vengeance. So in the first one, it was Mick. Basically, Clubber Lang, it was his fault.
No.
Pretty much. Well, he shoves, Clubber Lang shoves Mick. Is the reason his heart has a heart attack and dies.
Mick died because he was 108 years old in that movie.
He was born in 1907 in real life.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
But, there's that same thing. He's got to go and, get gritty again, but back to the basics and defend his honor. It was the same thing. Rocky IV just rehashed it, but with the Russians. That's all.
Which is more 80s than anything else. So go ahead.
Another thing is
my point.
Drago is about a foot taller than Stallone. With his reach, there's no way Rocky even gets close enough to land a punch. He's like Lennox Lewis, man, fighting a midget. Come on. He's, just his little jab's going to keep Rocky halfway across the ring. He's not even going to land a punch.
Which is why it was such a greater upset, was because Rocky could barely. Drago called him a piece of iron. Remember that?
Oh, that's right.
Piece of iron.
That's right.
All right.
Well, I'm not done yet.
Oh, gosh. Here we go.
It's a joke to say this movie is about promoting goodwill and diplomacy. In fact, they use that in the movie. I mean, using a violent sport to promote goodwill and diplomacy is insane. Like, a violent sport's going to bring peace between two countries. Come on.
But people can change. In the words of Rocky Balboa, people can change, Damian.
Only if they beat the out of each other.
That's true.
That's the lesson we learned. If we can beat the out of somebody else, David can beat up Goliath, then the world is all good, apparently. So, again, not as good of a Survivor song. No Oscar nominations for Rocky IV. I must have missed those.
Okay, so you're basically saying Survivor is better than James Brown.
Well, there was a Survivor song in Rocky IV also is the theme. It was a
Hearts on Fire,
Hearts on
baby.
Fire.
Hearts on Fire, Strong Desire. Yep, I used to know that song.
It's no Eye of the Tiger, though. Come on, hands down. Better music, better writing. They didn't have to go to Russia to make to play up on the whole Cold War thing. They're just riding the wave of Red Dawn.
Wolverines!
All right. Well, I was, that was the best thing about Rocky IV was it into the Cold War before we had a Red Dawn scenario.
Another thing Rocky IV ruined for us. A chance for us to defend our high school, Bill. Come on.
All right. Let's talk about Rocky III here for a second, because I did like the training montage with Apollo Creed and Sylvester Stallone for many reasons, not just the crotch close-ups, but, I just liked it. But Damian, there's movies that I watch that I can suspend my belief that things are really happening. Look, I could watch the Avengers and imagine that Iron Man can fly around and destroy people or whatever. You cannot tell me that in a foot race on the beach in ankle-deep water, Sylvester Stallone could ever beat Carl Weathers. That is, I could not get over the fact that Sylvester Stallone beat Carl Weathers in a foot race. Damian, come on. That could never, ever happen.
Yeah, I won't dispute that.
Okay, all right, good. Let's talk about the two villains in the movie. Drago and Clubber Lang. Clubber Lang, Mr. T, which in it launched his career, really did, and he was a great '80s icon. But like I said before, the greater the villain, the greater the movie, the greater the hero, right? And Mr. T, Clubber Lang, just talked and moved his mouth the whole time, talking smack, talking about Adrian, all this stuff.
But he called him chicken. He called Rocky chicken. You can't let that go.
Okay, so let me
That's a major villain. That's Biff level territory right there. Come on.
All right, so with all of Mr. T, Clubber Lang's talking, Drago in the movie Rocky IV has 9 lines. 9. That's it. 9 lines, and which makes him, I think, a better bad guy. I mean, you will lose. Remember that one? And then, I cannot be defeated. I defeat all men. Soon I defeat real champion. If he dies, he dies. I mean, he didn't give a crap that he killed Apollo Creed. And then when he tells Rocky in the beginning of the match, I must break you. I mean, Damian, look, I got goosebumps right now going up and down my arms. It is crazy. So let's talk about the Thunder Lips in Rocky 3 too. Now, I love WWF. I was a huge Hulk Hogan fan. In fact, I stuck to Hulk Hogan even when he fought the Ultimate Warrior in the early 90s. Like I was a huge Hulk Hogan fan. But come on. Bringing in Hulk Hogan in a wrestling match on Rocky 3 was like jumping the shark in Happy Days. I mean, it didn't need to be done. It did not need to be done.
No, it was 82, and he wasn't at the height of his WWF career. The height of his WWF career wasn't until the beginning of 83.
Okay.
Or maybe it's the end of 83, actually, beginning of 84.
Well, so here's what I'm saying is that was just unneeded, unnecessary, and yeah, it did help out Hulk Hogan's career and everything, but I didn't buy him as a quote-unquote villain. Plus, his acting sucked.
Yeah, his acting was horrible.
All right, so you're talking about the merits of Eye of the Tiger, right? I mean, and I can concede it's a great song. However, Hearts on Fire I think is a superior song, even though not as many people know it. I know it, but Living in America, James Brown. Now you said Eye of the Tiger was nominated for an Oscar.
Yes.
Well, if you remember from last episode or 2 episodes ago, Super Bowl Shuffle was also nominated for a Grammy. So
that's a Grammy versus an Oscar, though.
I'm just saying that there are songs that are nominated that do not need to be nominated. That's all I'm saying. And Living in America, I could sing that song, back and forth. Kenny Loggins was also on that. The songs in Rocky IV,
but none of those songs are written specifically for the movie. Eye of the Tiger was written, and it added Eye of the Tiger to the lexicon. And I don't know how many times Creed says, "Eye of the Tiger, man, Eye of the Tiger."
Many times, because Creed's got to talk a lot. Whatever. So anyway, did you know that Peter Cetera originally wrote his best-selling solo single "Glory of Love," which was in Karate Kid Part 2? He actually wrote it for Rocky IV, But UA, United Artists, decided not to go with that. I thought that's interesting. I just found that out. And then it ended up being in Karate Kid 2, which was later on in 86. So anyway, Damian, good movie battle. I do believe because Rocky IV entered the Cold War that it was the superior movie. But I would watch, if Rocky III was on the TV right now, I'd be watching it.
For a dissenting opinion on Rocky III and Rocky IV, we have my beautiful wife, Kara.
Hello and thank you. But it's not really my dissenting opinion. I've done a little bit of research, and it turns out there is a chorus of dissenting opinion, specifically around Rocky IV. Did you know that it actually received the most nominations for the Razzies? And that's because it was a train wreck of tropes. And I think that really started with Rocky III. So with Rocky III, we're supposed to believe that somehow Rocky became soft. His manager was protecting him from that by propping him up with these really fake fights that he was guaranteed to win. And somehow he needs to struggle back to regain his confidence and mojo.
How dare you?
I know.
How dare you?
I know.
Have you no decency?
Apparently I don't. But you know who else doesn't have decency? Him running on the beach with Creed and that super slow, tight close-up of their crotches.
Your favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah, I have to dispel that myth. I did not ask you to pause so that I could gaze upon their crotches indefinitely.
Okay, maybe that was me who wanted to watch it a few times.
The truth comes out.
They have some nice thighs, though. I got to say, Carl Weathers and Sylvester Stallone, the thighs are impressive in those shorty shorts from the 80s.
Well, I think it really is a nod to fashion more than their thighs, because who doesn't look good in shorty shorts and those teeny tiny tank tops and midriff exposed?
Me, I do not look good.
Oh, wait, that's right. That's another criticism of the movie.
Okay, if you had to pick Rocky III or Rocky IV, what would you pick?
Well, I do appreciate and really like the character Creed, so he probably would get my nod for Rocky III. However, I do want to say Rocky IV may have spurred the end of the Cold War simply because we were all so tired of all of the tropes and the idea that Russia was bad and America was good, and that we simply could outperform out of sheer grit, and this animatronic Dolph Lundgren being able to win. I think that really spurred the end of the Cold War because it was such a ridiculous plot and we've all grown tired of it.
Well, we all know Red Dawn ushered in the end of the Cold War.
Wolverines.
Okay, and we also know that you're a huge wrestling fan. So what did you think about Hulk Hogan's performance in Rocky III?
I really think that was Academy Award winning.
Thunderlips, yeah, he was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it really was.
Meatball. That's all he said in the whole thing.
At least he stuck to what he was good at and didn't try to stray outside of his lane.
And what would that be? Wrestling?
Wrestling, uttering catchphrases, staring at the camera, and flexing his muscles.
Okay, so were you a Hulk Hogan fan?
I was, but really, I kind of like the British Bulldogs even more.
Ooh, British Bulldogs, one of the best tag teams in the history of the WWF.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for your dissenting opinion. It is well thought out and well spoken, and I do not agree with you, but we will go on and say Rocky III is the best movie in the Rocky franchise.
Again, I dissent.
Before we end this segment, I have two trivia questions for you, Bill.
Okay, go for it.
The first one is what TV sitcom did Mr. T guest star in as a bodyguard?
Oh, I'm hoping I'm thinking the same one, but Different Strokes.
Nope, Silver Spoons.
Oh, he's on Silver Spoons too. I specifically remember him being on Different Strokes.
Yeah, he did guest star on Different Strokes as well.
A bodyguard.
Yeah, it was
Silver
Mr.
Spoons.
T and Mr. T, where Arnold played a smaller version of him, but I don't think he was
Yes,
a bodyguard
that's right.
in that.
That's right. That's right.
But this was right after Rocky III. He played a bodyguard, which he had been done in real life. He played that in Silver Spoons. The last piece of trivia, what was the number one movie in 1982? So Rocky 3 came in at number 4. What was the number one movie?
Well, so 1982. I got to think Tootsie. Is that the same year? I don't even know if that's the same year as Tootsie.
I think Tootsie came in at number 2.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Number one movie in 82. I don't know.
So it was...
Oh, I know. E.T.
E.T.
Yes. Yeah.
You got it. All right. So that ends our segment on 80s Movie Battle. Let us know on any of the social medias. Use the hashtag
80s Show Rocky Battle. That's 80s Show Rocky Battle.
And vote for Rocky 3.
Nope. Rocky 4.
Okay. Just let us know. Or you can say you don't like either of them and tell us why.
And if you do, you are definitely a communist.
I would agree with that.
An evil communist from Soviet Russia.
Yes. Not unlike the good communists from elsewhere.
That's right. All right, well, that's it for this week's edition of 80 Show Podcast. Coming up
Hold on a second. I'm hearing the fax machine again.
Oh, no, that can't be good.
That's never a good sign.
It hasn't been good the last couple of weeks.
Okay, let me see what it says here. TWA has gone bankrupt.
Oh, so just recently, so we don't have them to be a sponsor right now, but they
pretty recently, sometime in the last 30 years. Apparently.
Okay, all right. Well, again, people, if that's a shame that we lost another sponsor, but if you are interested in sponsoring us here at the 80 Show Podcast, hit us up at 80showpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to take your money. I mean, use your money in a responsible manner. But
we're spreading the culture of the 80s. This is a cultural show, a history show, if you will.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and basically we're educating the masses. So that's exactly what we're doing. So, and next week we're going to educate you all. And ourselves, probably mostly. For the first thing we're gonna do is 1980 something. Damian's gonna quiz me on what year some events in the 80s happened.
That's right. So study up. And after that, we're gonna talk about whatever happened to my favorite, Tab Soda.
Oh yeah, Tab Soda. And we're going to end up with our ultimate babysitter for Damian and I being latchkey kids. Our ultimate babysitter growing up was the show Three's Company. Oh, yeah.
The Regal Beagle.
Come and knock on our door. For the 80 Show Podcast, I am Bill Lassiter. Remember, people can change.
And I'm Damian Ruffelli, and I pity the fool who doesn't like 80 Show Podcast. Theme song composed by my good friend, fellow rock star, straight out of Bakersfield. You may also know him from the band Videodrone, Mark Russell Davis.